All right, hello everyone. Thanks for joining back in for DecoNetwork's live tutorial session. Good to have all you back. So today we're going to cover, again, user questions. We're also going to do a review of a website. So we have been asking you guys to submit your websites for a quick kind of feedback review. So we'll be doing that. Before we get started, I'll touch up on some news as far as DecoNetwork. We just released a recent update. So we do updates usually about once a month or so. And we've just put one out that has quite a bit of fixes and improvements along the way. So do check out the blog. We have posted a blog with information letting you know what's changed in this new version. And as always, we also post the release notes over to our help center. And that link to the release notes is also in that blog. So definitely jump back into the blog and have a look at what's new. All right, so I'm just looking through some of the comments that were left through our blog, see if there's any questions that we can cover. There were quite a few sites that did get submitted, so we might pick one or two to go over depending on how much time we have. So let me see, check on these questions. All right, so we can take a look at one of the sites submitted here. Let me see who submitted this. This is from Rachel, and this is the site that they're working with. All right, so yeah, I like what's going on here. Right off the bat, I would mention you might have some issues with um, these slides that you've got going on, at least some of them. Uh, what you want to do when you're setting up your sliders for the website, as much as possible, you want to use text content rather than one solid image with the text embedded. Uh, Reason being, the search engines when they're analyzing your website, if you have the text that's saying, Cosmic Blend hoodie available in these many colors, and you have all these features that you're mentioning. If that's text that's actually on the website, right? So I can go ahead and select that text, the search engine can actually pick that up and analyze that, turn that into keywords, and help it to determine whether your website is relevant or not for a specific search keyword, right? Whereas if you have something like these banners, where it does have some content there, it has some images of products, some information about that collection, but that's just a solid image. So when Google, Microsoft, Yahoo are coming into your site and analyzing the data on your site, they're just going to see that as an image, and there's really no context, no information behind that image to let it know, they're actually promoting a product and someone's searching for that product. So this might be a relevant website to display in the search results, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to focus more on this type of slide layout, what you have with the standout and with the Cosmic Blend hoodie, where you've actually brought those elements out into text, which can get picked up by those search engines. Whereas these two or these three start to kind of lose that benefit, right? It does allow you to do more visual solutions. So you've included like your logo in there along with the product and the text down below. So that kind of layout is still possible. You just have to be a little bit more. Um, you have to plan it out as far as how you're going to do it. So you might create that image of your logo and the product and um, create that out as a separate image. Even without that red background, just transparent background, um, and then bring that image into the slide, and then below that image, place in a text widget and start applying your text content below it, and then just set the red as the background color of the slide. So you have to kind of piece it together. And again, there's a lot of benefit to that in terms of having it picked up by the search engines. The other thing, just small visual issues that I see as far as How close text runs to like the edge of those slides, definitely an issue on that one. You might also consider things that are getting overlapped, or for example, like the placement of the shop button that you've added on some of these. You might consider having that consistent between all the slides so that, if someone is going through the slides, they know exactly where the call to action button is. For example, here it's at the top, then you've got it at the bottom. On some of these, you've got it kind of in the middle or on the side. So you might think about having kind of more consistent placement of those buttons and maybe even consistent coloring. If you could, for example, have a single highlight color for all your call to actions, it really reinforces that message of, that's what you click to get to where you need to go. All right. Yeah, but I guess the branding colors here are just black and white, so it might be nice to introduce some more color onto the side, but if it's not part of your brand, um, that may not be necessary. Um, I think in this case, the latest products works the way you're using it because you are including products relevant to, let's say, the specific season. So Christmas is coming up, and you've made sure to pull in from, I don't know if you're using a category or if you've just recently added these products, but you're kind of letting the customer know that you've got products for the right time that's coming up. Um, the only thing I would say is probably not necessary is including the shopping cart contents here in the footer. Um, we do include the link to the shopping cart up at the top. It's not the full itemized list, but it'll include a count in terms of how many products have been added to the cart. And if you click on that, it'll take you directly into the shopping cart. And that's typical for most, e-commerce sites. So consumers are, they're used to that type of behavior and not so much, having to scroll down to the bottom of the page to see what you've added to your shopping cart. So that might be just kind of redundant there. Um, but yeah, overall, you've got a fairly straightforward setup. I like what you've done with the navigation. So you actually have the option for the customer to shop by category, which is just your main blank products page, which you've set up to display as categories. I would say that is my personal preferred way to set up the blank products page is to have it show these large category thumbnails that the customer can click in and kind of start drilling down. So, polos, and then I want 100% cotton, and then you start seeing the products. So allowing the customer to drill down and see the products is really one of the better ways to set it up. Uh, the other way, which I think it's the default way, is to just start showing products by default. Um, it's not necessarily as useful, especially if you have a ton of products. And if you just start showing, individual items without drilling down first, it can become a little bit overwhelming right off the bat. You can, in some cases, bring along a side column. If you are doing that type of setup, I would recommend a side column with maybe the list of categories so that the customer can drill down that way. And we do have some things coming up, down the line where, in addition to categories, we'll have the ability to do filters. So you can, filter by, let's say, a certain color type, like reds. Show me products that, are available in red hues, and maybe sizes. So show me products that come in 2XL or whatever the case might be. So that's coming down the line. All right, but you've done some of that work, right off the bat with what's available today. So you also have the shop brand, which is really beneficial. A lot of consumers do have a specific brand in mind when they're coming to shop, and so you split that off into its own page. So yeah, a lot of good things here. The only thing, I guess, the main feedback was more on the home page. Again, making sure that your slides are set up to get the most benefit out of what the search engine is going to be looking for, and then you may consider bringing in some pops of color into the design just to make it a little bit more kind of eye-catching. Uh, and yeah, overall, pretty nice layout on the site. Thanks for submitting that, Rachel. And hopefully that feedback helps in making some adjustments. All right, so let's see if we can't jump onto some questions. So I'm just going to briefly look through the comments here. We've got some questions, so a few questions submitted in from Cindy. Let's go through them. So first question, what happened to the option at the website level to export products in a given store? I was recently able to download the list and the option is no longer visible. Okay. Um, that has me a bit confused. I'm not aware of an option to export products at the store level at all. I can show what we do have available. Um, if you're in your main products list, as far as your blank products, we do have the ability to export products from here. So if you do a bulk action, you can select a series of items, or you can select all the products in your system by clicking the link that'll show directly at the top of your list. And then from the bulk action menu, you can choose export products. And that's going to export out a CSV file, essentially a spreadsheet with some basic columns about your products, like the product code, the product name, uh, the price for the blank, the price for the DTG, so on and so forth. So kind of almost what you see here on the table, just in an Excel file. Um, that's really the only product export that we have available throughout the system. At the store level, I'm not aware of us ever having had an option to export the products. I'd be curious, Cindy, and you might submit this as a support ticket, if you have an example of like the export or the report that you ran, we could give you some feedback as to what exactly it is that you're running into. But what might be the case is maybe you were exporting orders. I'm not sure if that might be the case. You can export orders at the store level, and this will also give you an Excel spreadsheet, a CSV file. That report would come in two different formats, either a summary format uh, or a line item format. And the line item format would include one row in that spreadsheet for every product included in a given order. So that I wonder if that's what you're referring to, but again, without having kind of an example of what you're seeing, it's going to be a bit difficult. So definitely, if you are interested in more feedback on that, go ahead and submit a support ticket, and we can help get to the bottom of that. All right, let's see. Let's pick a question from the live chat here. I see some questions coming in. All right, so Craig is asking, how do you show stock on design shirts or other products? We're going to do custom items, um, but have several franchises that we want to show stock items to. Stock items. Okay, so if I'm understanding, the terminology stock items could mean different things, but the way I'm understanding it is, for example, you might have um, some items that are not necessarily decorated apparel. It's just product that you sell, off the shelf. Or it could be also apparel, but it might be pre-printed apparel that's again just sitting on the shelf, and it's going to be sold as is. Um, so I guess in either of those cases, my recommendation would be to set that up as a product in your main products list of the DecoNetwork system. So this products list, primarily the system considers it as your list of blank products, but really it can be a blank product, or it can be a product that's just being sold as is. So for example, if I wanted to create um, let's say a mug, and that mug is already printed, it's maybe got some all around graphic on it. Maybe it was glazed with a specific, rainbow glaze or something like that. So there's no print going on it. It's just a mug that's created in a certain way, and I'm selling it exactly as is. You can still create it as a, what the system would consider blank in the DecoNetwork system. You simply go to add product, add custom product, and then you run through the steps. So we can quickly run through the steps here. So we'll say rainbow mug, and we'll go ahead and save that out. So when you're creating the custom product, you are going to be responsible for providing all of the information for that product. You're creating it from scratch. So that's going to include things like providing your product image, what colors it's available in, what sizes it comes in. So depending on what type of product you're working with, there may be quite a bit of work in terms of collecting all of that information and getting it ready to input into the system. All right. So let's say I was doing the mug. It only comes in that one rainbow color, so I might be able to do single image for all colors. Or if maybe it came in, two different, like a light rainbow and dark rainbow options, I could choose separate image for each color. It's going to ask me to go ahead and upload the image. I don't have a mug, so I'm just going to use any random image that I have here on my system. So you'll upload the product image. Once you've uploaded that product image, you can go ahead and press OK. Make sure to set the name of that view. So, you know, it doesn't really matter what you call it. The main thing I would recommend is don't leave it at new product view, just because that is going to display, um, that's going to display to your customers. So you don't want all of these products saying new product view, new product view. You want to actually make it a little bit more clean and give it an appropriate name. And then select the color. Again, if this was like a rainbow, you might define a new color. Choose, let's say, that blue there. We'll call it rainbow. So whenever you do define a new color, you can upload a swatch image for it. So let's see if we just do a quick search for rainbow image. Save that down. So I could set that as my swatch image. So upload, let's grab that image. And that way, even though I selected blue as the color, as the base color for that swatch, since I've uploaded the image, it kind of replaces what the base color was. All right, so that's my rainbow mug. And then I would just go through and add the rest of the information. So again, I could add in additional colors. I could set sizes. In the case of the mug, maybe it doesn't have a size, it's just one size. So I could disable the size field entirely by unchecking size field is on under the size settings. I'll definitely want to set the pricing. So this mug, again, it's being sold as is. Maybe it's from a well-known ceramic artist. So, maybe it's a $25 or maybe $35 mug, whatever the case might be. But yeah, so this is essentially how you set up those products, right? You define them as, again, the system considers them blanks, but they're really as is products. And because you're defining it as a product in your system, that means you can enable inventory on them. So you can enable inventory on this product, stock a specific SKU of it, and that allows you to set how many you have on hand. So that artist, they provided me with, 100 mugs to sell, and so I can set how many I have on hand. This is a limited run, so I'm not going to bother with reordering, but I do want a warning once we get down to 10 mugs. So you can set that inventory. And as far as tracking that stock, um, there's no way to actually display that stock through the website. So you're not going to be able to display on the front end, there's 100 of these mugs, and then as they're ordering, that number goes down. However, what you can do is if you go into inventory settings, you can change what the out of stock behavior is. So once that, those 100 mugs are sold, what do you want to do? The default is do nothing, which means you would still allow the customer to go ahead and order an item that's out of stock. But the alternative option is don't allow adding to cart. So with that secondary option, once you reach down to zero, if the customer attempts to purchase that item, it'll let them know it's actually out of stock. We won't delist it from the site automatically for you. That's something that you could go in manually, and once it's out of stock, if you want to completely delist it from the site, you can just go back into the product and make it inactive. Okay. As far as where those products are going to display, they're going to display on your create page. So they're displaying, again, since the system's considering those blanks, they're showing through the blanks product page. What I would recommend, if you don't want to kind of contaminate, let's say you're through the same site, you're showcasing blanks to decorate and these kind of as is products, I would recommend to set up categories to kind of split those off, right? So you might have apparel, decorated apparel as one category set, and then you might have, special ceramics as its own separate category to browse through. Okay. Hopefully that answers the question, Craig. Let's pull back in to the blog questions. Um, so we've got, again, another question from Cindy. What impact, if any, would deleting the supplier preloaded products uh, have on my DecoNetwork interface if I'm deleting products that I don't ever use? Um, so if you're removing products that you don't use, there is no impact. The impact would come in when you're removing products that you have used. Let's say you created some decorative products with a Gildan 2000 shirt, and for whatever reason you now want to delete that Gildan 2000 from your system. That's actually going to also remove the decorative products that were built on top of that blank. So removing a blank does have a flow-on effect to orders or decorated products that are built on it. In the case of orders, what deleting that product would potentially remove the customer's ability to reorder that item. It would also remove your ability to see that product in the add previously ordered product screen. Um, Lastly, we've recently added the option to copy an order or a quote, and it would also affect that. So if you're copying an order and that order contains products that are no longer in your system, when you create that copy, those items that are not there will be skipped. So it's gonna create a copy, but only containing products that are still available in your system today. So um, I guess to answer your question specifically, Cindy, in your case there would be no effect since you're talking about removing products that you have never used. But for everyone out there, there is definitely a flow-on effect if you're removing products that you are using. Okay. All right. Let's take a question from Adrian, who's asking, how do you close or disable a customer's promo store and gather a total quantity of each product sold to send to the customer? Okay. So as far as how to close it, there's a couple options that you have. There's really one that I recommend um, the most because it's really the most flexible in terms of, let's say you want to close a store, but there's a potential of it being reopened down the line. You don't necessarily want to start removing information. So what I would recommend is managing the store that you want to disable. Once you've done that, you can click into the administration section and you'll choose the redirection. So redirection allows you to enter a URL where you want to send any traffic to that site or to that web store. You're going to send them to this alternate page. So the easiest way would be, just enter in let's say the URL to your main site. Um, so I'm just going to enter in Google, but let's say, or let me just do my main site. right? So I'm just entering the URL of my main site, and when you're using the redirection option, make sure you're including the protocol at the front of that URL. Otherwise, it's going to think whatever you're entering is relative to the existing domain for the site. So if we were to open a fresh page where I'm not logged in and then just visit that URL, you can see I'm not actually going to my Football Booster site. Instead, I'm getting sent over to my main print store URL, which is what I've entered here. So that's the easiest way to just disable access to it, right? Anyone attempting to access that site, they're going to get redirected over here. So they won't have any further access. As far as how to get a total quantity of products sold, kind of touches on what we mentioned earlier, which is that ability to generate a report. You can do that report from the store. However, um, it's not going to allow you to do it based on a date range. So if you do export orders, it's exporting um, any information added since the last time you exported. So if you have been kind of continually exporting throughout the lifetime of the site, you may need to manually combine those different reports to get a total picture. Otherwise, you can run that report from within the main admin section. If you go into reports, export orders, and then choose the CSV format, if you then click on create export on the top right, this allows you to run a similar type of report. However, this is system wide, so it's not store specific, but the benefit being that it allows you to select a date range. So if you know that you started selling through that store on August 1st and you stop selling today, October 31st, you select that date range. Again, you select, in your case, you're trying to find the total number of products sold. And I'm guessing for specific items. So you might do order line items and then save. So that's going to generate a report across all of your sites. What you can do then, once you have that report in Excel, um, you have the ability to include in that report a column that's either the store name or the store URL. So you can filter based on that. Even though the report is system wide, you can filter out, to just see orders for a specific store. So it's going to be flexible either way, even though it's a system wide report. And at that point, it would just, be a question of managing and massaging that data to get the type of report that you're after. Consolidating the rows that contain a certain product name and counting those, so on and so forth. Okay, hopefully that helps out, Adrian. Let's take a look at Cindy's last question from the blog. She's been using her default Deco address for her main company website and for her Spirit stores, but she was curious about SSL. Using those default domains, they're not SSL secured, and she's wondering if there's a negative impact, due to that absence of those not being SSL secured. Okay, so that's definitely something that we can cover. So I guess the first thing to mention, and this is a topic that we've covered before, so I'm not going to go into too much detail on it. There's already a lot of good video resources on our YouTube channel on that topic specifically. But just to kind of address it here, um, so DecoNetwork provides a secure connection for your customers regardless of what domain you're using. Right here on my main site, I'm using my Deco Apparel domain, and I can go ahead and shop. As I'm shopping through the site, and let me see, let me just switch off to the main here. So I'm actually logged in, so it's using the secure one. But let's say I landed, just through Deco Apparel. I'm shopping through the site, and in this case, my browser is letting me know the site is not secure. Um, but let's say I continue browsing through the site. I go ahead and pick a product that I like, and I go ahead and add it to the cart. Um, the system's not going to prevent you from placing order, even though the site is showing as not secure. What DecoNetwork does in cases like this, where your primary custom domain or default DecoNetwork domain is not secure, we provide a secondary domain for you on a domain that we host ourselves, secure-decoration.com, which we purchase, the SSL certificate for. So we purchase a wildcard certificate, so anything.securedecoration.com is SSL secured. Um, and so we provide those, again, free of cost to any web store. And so what the system does is on any pages that are going to require secure connection, like the shopping cart process, the checkout process, where you're actually sending information that might be personal information, like your credit card details, things like that, your address information. You want those transferring over your secure connection. So we make that switch automatically behind the scenes. That also happens, for example, when you go to the login page or when you go to register for an account. So we're handling that automatically for you as far as making sure that the customer communication that needs to happen securely is happening securely, regardless of which domain you're using. Um, what it then comes down to is, you know, recently we did add the ability to enable SSL for any custom domains that you yourself have added in. Let's say, I might have a custom domain, myprintshop.com. So I could add that into DecoNetwork, and now you have the ability to enable SSL for that domain. So that then leaves out our own default domains like Deco Apparel as the only type of domain that is not going to always show as secure. Um, so we do have, some ways to kind of work around that. Again, there's a good video resource on our YouTube channel, so I'll kind of, again, it's a little bit of a long topic, so I'm not going to recover it, but there are some ways to mark that type of domain as secure. Um, the reason why we don't do it automatically is the service that we use for those free SSL certificates that we provide does have limits on, how many subdomains for a specific domain can be enabled for SSL in a specific period of time. So we would quickly run into those limits, but you can essentially manually request that. And as long as not too many other people are trying to request that for their Deco default domain as well, you could go ahead and do that. But yeah, so check back on the YouTube channel for that solution. Um, as far as what the negative impact is, um, it's going to depend on there may be a negative impact in terms of the search engine, how it sees your site, how it ranks you based on that. It's going to depend on each search engine, but I know Google is factoring that into their overall algorithm of decision making for ranking sites. So it is something that you may take into consideration based on that information. All right. Thanks for those questions, Cindy. Let's go ahead and move on to some questions from the chat here, starting to build up. So let me just run through these. Joe is asking, um, he's saying he wants to be able to sell products for less than his standard pricing in an affiliate store that he runs. Is there an easy way to change a price table for a specific affiliate store? Um, so there isn't a way to assign a price table to an affiliate store. Um, what you could do, so if price tables are not assigned to stores. Price tables are assigned either to product groups or to individual products. What that leaves you then is the option to create a set of products that you're going to use on your affiliate store and then assign that price table to those products. Um, so it's what you're trying to do is definitely doable. And the process that you would go about doing that is go into your products list make a copy of a product, set that copy to be available only in that affiliate store that you're working. All right, sorry about that. Sorry about that brief pause. Did have an issue with the stream there, but I'm back. So, um, yeah, I was just covering Joe's question about um, selling products through an affiliate store at a price lower than his standard pricing. Um, so the solution we were going over is because you don't assign price tables to sites, you assign price tables to products. What you want to do is create some copies of products. Again, create a set of products. Let's say you're using 10 products on that affiliate store. So you copy those 10 items, and then you assign your reduced price table to those 10 products. So if you go into edit a product um, and you go into the pricing section, you do have the ability to override the decoration price. So what you do is you press the configure icon next to the decoration prices. You then switch it to use advanced pricing. And once you've done that, you're going to have this option to edit the price. And what that does is it gives you this decoration pricing pop-up where you can uncheck use default pricing. And it's going to open up your price fields to set something different. Right now I have all my decoration methods to single price, so it's just an input field that I can change. But if you're using price table as your pricing method, what you would see here are some drop-down menus. And that drop-down menu would allow you to select from all of the different price tables that you have available for that given process. Okay. Uh, I guess besides that, besides doing it product per product, what you could also do is create a product default or a product group, um, which again you might call affiliate store products. And then when you go into configure that group, you go into decoration pricing, and again similar to that, you use the specify custom decoration pricing option. You uncheck use system prices, and it allows you to make that similar change. The benefit of doing it this way is you can actually change the pricing method. So if you want, let's say your default pricing method is price table, but for a set of groups, you want them to use single pricing. You can actually make that change through the group. Let's say, I want all products to use price tables. So you change that to price table, and then you select a price table that you want to use. The last step once you've configured your group would be to go back into that products list. Again, take those 10 copies that you've set up for your affiliate stores and file them into that new group that you've created. So you do that by going into the General tab, looking under Product Defaults, pressing the Change link, and then choosing that new group. Okay, so the group option is probably the one I would recommend, just because it's going to help you to reduce that amount of work down the line as you continue to add products to that site or to that set of products that you use across multiple sites. You don't have to go through and each time redefine what the price is going to be on a product by product basis. You just assign it to the group, and then you create the copy, assign the copy to the group, and that takes care of the pricing. All right. Um, yes, thanks for that question, Joe. Hopefully that helps out. Um, we did have some comments from Brian, uh, who submitted that site that we were looking uh, at the start, I think. Let me double check here. Yeah, so So Brian's comments are, he added the cart to the footer as he was having some complaints about not being able to see the cart on mobile because it is hidden behind the menu or the chat button. So his chat button is actually obscuring the cart. So that makes sense. One thing you might look into is to see if that chat service provides the option to change the placement of that button. That might be a an alternate solution to that. And then we had a follow-up question from a user here through the chat who was wondering if there was an option. I think this is referring to the inventory settings to set it to back order. I think that's what he's referring to. So the only two options that we have, again, as far as stock, are do nothing or don't allow adding to cart. So that's when the item reaches zero. What you can do, again, that's just from the front end, right? The user's perspective, what they can do on their end once an item is out of stock. But from your end, as the fulfillment center, and if you're managing stock for a specific product, you do have the ability to push items into kind of a back order state where um, they're going to be you allow the customer to purchase it, and then you're going to purchase to kind of refill that stock, right? So in my example, I was mentioning, that was kind of a limited mug run, but let's kind of go off what you're saying, which is maybe I can source more of those mugs, right? So what you might do is, again, you might track inventory for a product. You'll say, let's stock this. I have 100 of those. When I get down to 10, I want to reorder so that I get back to 100. So that's what these two additional columns are for. Low stock warning and then reorder to level. So in a case like this, you would want your inventory settings set up to do nothing. So when it's out of stock, you still want the customer to purchase. And then what the system's going to do based on these two columns, again, once it gets down to 10, you're going to place an order up to 100 so that you get that stock replenished from your supplier. All right, so the system's going to go back in and create a PO. That's going to happen in Business Hub. You're going to create that PO, source that additional good, and then that's going to get assigned back to inventory on hand. So it's kind of back ordering, but the customer is not really aware of it. As far as they're concerned, they don't know whether that's in stock or not. You're saying you're going to handle that by tracking inventory on that product. All right, so hopefully that answers that follow-up question. Let's just go back into the blog here. There were some additional questions I wanted to pull from. All right, so we've got a question from Carrie, whose website's set up to do mostly screen printing jobs, and they also have a boutique with some of their own designs. They don't offer DTG, but they do use DTG for their boutique designs, and they've set it up that way because their boutique designs don't have the order minimum that screen printing does. So, I imagine they might have their screen print process set to like a 12 or 24 minimum, and they don't want that minimum to apply for their decorated products, which they use for their boutique designs. So what they're asking is they need a way to not charge for shipping on the boutique orders. So far, they've tried they've thought about assigning a shipping method to a decoration method, which is not possible. So, they're just trying to figure out what the solution there is. So, the easiest way to solve that is going to be, and really the tricky part is you're kind of splitting that off based on decoration method. Um, I think that the path you're going to have to end up taking is using a discount, a coupon discount, which you can get there from the marketing section of your admin area. Let me just edit this example coupon that I have so you can take a look at what types of um, items you can set availability for. So um, the only section that allows you to kind of limit availability of a coupon is the product default, or like we covered earlier, the product group. So I think what you're going to end up having to do is set up those boutique items on copies of whatever blanks they're built on. So let's say for those boutique items you always print on Bella and Canvas, maybe 4 of their styles. So you're going to make a copy of those 4 styles of blanks. Again, you'll create a new group, assign those 4 copies to the group, and then when it comes time to setting up the coupon, you're going to uncheck this coupon is available for all product defaults, and you're going to check on the one specific group for your boutique items. So the coupon's only available for boutique items, and then the coupon applies only to the shipping cost. So you'll set it to only discount the shipping. All right, so in that way, you're limiting where that discount is going to go to. Um, the other option, and I'd be curious if you're on, you may be on a one-store plan, but the other option, which might be more thorough, is to actually split out your boutique into its own site. That would just simplify the process entirely because, setting that up as its own site, A, you're separating out the brand, so you can have the boutique as kind of its own brand. And B, it's just easier to set up in terms of the shipping methods. You can actually set shipping method availability. You could create a shipping method called free shipping or no cost shipping and make that available only to that separate boutique site. So ideally, that's the way you would go down. But I think, Carrie, if I'm looking up your information here, you might be on a one-site plan. So that does create some limitations on how far you can take it. But uh, definitely look into coupons as a possible route that you could take. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. I'll try and run through the last couple of questions that we have here. Um, so let's see. Brian through the chat is asking, he's added volume discount. He's added a volume discount. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I understand the question. And get my sales items. So I think Brian's asking that he's added a volume discount and it's also applying to his sale items. Is there a downside to that? Um, yeah, I'm actually going to ask you, Brian, to kind of clarify. I'm not sure what you're asking there. So let's go back to the blog. The last question here is from Cindy, and she wants clarification on outputting the product list. So um, she's managing one of her stores. On the decorated product page, there was a link above the images which allowed exporting the decorative products of a particular site. Um, okay, interesting. Yeah, I'm not aware of us ever having that option. Again, I'm not sure if it's kind of getting confused with something else. Yeah, go ahead and put in that ticket with an example export so we can actually know what you're talking about. So thanks for that clarification, Cindy. Okay, I'll just wait to see if Brian has a clarification on his volume discount question, and if not, we'll go ahead and close out the session. Okay. Yeah, thanks for the clarification, Brian. So what he's actually done is he's duplicated a product, and then he wants to have that product show as having a sale price. So what he's done is he's duplicated it, and then he's assigned a volume discount to it that always applies. So the minimum for that volume discount to apply is 0, so it always applies. There's no downside to doing that. That is a common way that people set up their pricing so that it always shows as kind of being on sale. People do prefer that as kind of a way to attract the customer. Make it seem like products are always at a discount. So there's really no downside to that, Brian. All right, and the last question we'll take here, follow-up question. Um, can you use a different card processor for the boutique? So I'm assuming this is kind of going back to that question of the separate site for the boutique items. Uh, you cannot use a different card processor if it's through the same DecoNetwork account. So if you're on a multi-store plan and you have different affiliate stores set up through it, all of those affiliate stores are going to run through the same card processor. So all of the funds are coming to a single account that's set up as the account to receive funds. Um, and in the case that it's an affiliate store not operated by you, which I think in your case, it's your own boutique design, so you're operating that, it's coming into your same account. But if it's let's say third party, you're then paying out that third party, maybe their commissions or an agreed amount. You can do that externally and then mark those as paid in DecoNetwork. Or we also have a system that allows commission payouts through PayPal as well, and you can have that done automatically. So there are ways that you can kind of transfer funds that may be necessary between those two entities, the third party store owner and yourself, as the one that's actually receiving the funds from the shopper. All right. Thanks for joining in, guys. We're going to go ahead and close out the session. We'll be back on in 2 weeks. So we're doing every other week for these sessions. Definitely check your calendars and make sure to join in next time. We'll answer more questions, we'll review more sites, and make sure to get you guys on your way to success. All right, thanks for joining in, guys. Take care and have a great one.